Hi everybody, grouping data. In the previous two videos, I explained in detail how to group dimensions in hierarchy or in groups and the different types of groups. If you're interested in knowing more about how to create groups and how to group dimensions, you can go back to the previous two videos where I explained them in detail. In today's video, I will explain how to group measures. But just wait 1 second. What is the difference between measure and dimension? This is very important information to know. It's very easy to differentiate between dimension and measure. By looking at the left hand band, by looking at the left hand pane, you will see the fields are separated by horizontal line. Anything above this line with the blue selection is called dimension, and anything below this line with the green selection is called measure. But what is the difference? The difference is dimension is any field that is used as labels for the data. Any field that's used to label data, this is a dimension. So you can add it as column header or as rows headers. While any field that is used to aggregate data, like applying aggregating function, this is measure. The dimension can be of any data type, while the measure it should be in number data type. So the simplest way to explain the difference is by example. I need to show the sales by country. Simply, I will go here and drag the country over here. Now I have label for each country. And then I will drag sales here to the detail section where I can see the sum of sales. Here, these are labels that are displayed as unique values, while these are numbers that are aggregated by function. Dimension is used for labeling data, while measures are those data that can be grouped by using aggregation functions like count, sum, average, any of these functions. The dimension can be of any data type, can be number data type, text, any data type, while measures should be number data type. The question is it possible to convert between dimension and measure? Yes, it is possible. To do that, I have here customer ID as a measure. I can simply click here and then convert to dimension. Now it's moved above the line and it has now a blue selection. Now it is dimension, which means I can use customer ID as label. If I drag it here, now I can see the sales by customer ID by country. Simply, you know now that this amount is the sales by the customer number 11 in Australia. If you need to convert dimension to measure, using the same method, click here, and now you can find it converted into convert to measure. We can group measures by creating bins. Simply, histogram is a type of a chart to represent data by its frequencies. For example, I need to know how many customers make sales of $1,000. How many customers make sales of $2,000? This is called histogram frequencies. Let's have an example. Histogram needs only one variable. Let's represent the sales. And from here, I will choose histogram. This is a histogram. It represents data in columns, and every column has a width. The column called the bin, and its width is called bin size. These histograms represent the number of sales of every amount. For example, here, a sales of 2016 appeared 253 times in my data table. For example, here, sales of 5,712 appears 72 times. Every pin represents an amount of sales. We can adjust the size of this bin. To change the size of this bin, if you look here at the fields, you can see that there is a sales bin is added automatically when you choose the histogram type. By clicking here, we can click edit, and now we can choose the size of the bin. This size is created automatically by Tableau using a mathematical formula that Tableau uses to estimate the best bin size. But we still can't convert it. We still can modify it. If I need to make a bin size of 1,000, which means every bin will represent $1,000 of sales. Here is the name. If you need to edit the name, you can modify it. If you need to keep it, keep it. And here we have the minimum amount of sales and the maximum amount of sales. I will hit OK. Now the bin size becomes 1,000, 1K. So we have about, for example, for this bin, we have 515 sales has an amount of $1K. For example, here we have 255 sales of $5K and so on. Using histogram, we can detect whether our data is normally distributed or have a skewness. If the data is normally distributed, I can see the data like this. If it has a skewness, it can be skewed to the right. This is positive skewness or right skewness, or can be skewed to the left. This is negative skewness or left skewness. With the type of skewness depends on where is the tail. If the tail of the data is to the right, it means positive skewness. If the tail of the data to the left, it means negative skewness. And this is very important to know how my data is distributed. For example, in the positive skewness here, it means that most of the data has low values. Only few data have high values. While in the negative skewness, most of the data has high values, while few number of data has low values. And this will affect the average of my data. For example, I may see that my average of data or my average of sales is lower than the average of sales of the previous year. By looking at the data and creating a histogram, I can know whether my data is normally distributed, so the average represents an actual average of data, or is skewed. In the case of skewness, the average is not a good description of my data. For example, here we have most of the data have high sales, while because we have number of low sales, which is few number of records shows low sales, that generally affect the overall average of sales. In this case, average will not be an actual representation of my data. By looking at our real histogram, which type of skewness? Is it normally distributed or it has a skewness? And if it has skewness, is it a positive skewness or a negative skewness? What do you see? If you look at our data, and we will find that our data is skewed to the right. So we have positive skewness, which means most of the sales are of low sales. The highest number of sales have between 2K and 3Ks, and high sales have only few occurrences in my data. Okay. Let's know how else we can change the bin size. I will remove everything from here. And also from the bin, I will delete this bin. Right click and delete. We have another method to create bin. I need to create bin for customer ID. Bins are created for measures. So from here, create bins. Here we got back the same prompt where we can modify the name and set the bin size. Here we have the minimum value is 1 and the maximum is 92. I will change the bin size to 10 and then OK. I will drag the customer ID here and I will convert it into count. And then I will take the customer bin here. Now I have my histogram. In the same way, we can from here edit the bin size. We can also rename our bin or delete bin. And that's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching and see you next video.